Right, so this is my quick solution to the Fermi paradox. If you don't know, the Fermi paradox is basically if there are many uh, Earth-like planets in the Milky Way, and many of them are much, much older than Earth and have been around for much longer, and we can assume at least some of them also developed intelligent life. How come, well, presuming that, all this stuff, statistically, Earth should have been visited by a intergalactic, interstellar civilization at some point, or at least have noticed one, and yet we haven't. That's the paradox. The answer to this paradox is really simple, and it makes me it's weird that scientists and other people haven't noticed. Um, it's pretty simple. The answer is that intelligent life is common, but civilization is not common, or at least it's not sustainable. We all know that civilization is not very stable and it keeps collapsing and it's basically doomed to collapse. I know I'm talking like this. I just started doing it. I thought it'd be a funny joke, but the joke's not funny anymore. I'm gonna stop now. Uh, what was I talking about? Fermi paradox. So let's look at history here for a minute. Let's look at human history. Humans have been around for what, if I remember correctly, 300,000 years, which 300,000 years on a galactic timescale is nothing. That's like a blink of an eye on a galactic timescale. And I mean, look at us. Look what we've done. We've fucked up our shit, you know? Basically, my theory is that if intelligent life does develop civilization, it burns itself out very quickly, leaving behind little evidence that would be observable from as far away as Earth. Um, because if humans have only been around for 300,000 years, um, and industrial civilization has only been around for a couple hundred, right? Then and it's already this close to falling apart. I mean, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, the cataclysm's going to come any day now. But I don't think it's that ridiculous to say that industrial civilization is going to collapse within the next 1,000 years, right? 1,000 years is a long time for a human, but for space time, for galactic scale time, 1,000 years is fucking nothing at all. Um, and that's a very, very small blip that would be very hard to notice. Um, and we can do this by imagining what if humans weren't the just imagine hypothetically that, for example, sperm whales are intelligent. Let's just say they're intelligent. And I mean, to the best of my knowledge, they're pretty intelligent. They have bigger brains than us, they have bigger prefrontal cortex than us, they have a complex language system, they have mirror self recognition, they live for a long time, they have complex social bonds, they're pretty much intelligent life in my personal view. Um, so let's assume that they were the dominant, that they're an intelligent species on this planet and humans weren't around. They've also been around for much longer than us, millions of years longer than us. Um, and let's assume that you wanted to observe that as an alien civilization, you just wouldn't be able to because they never developed civilization. Why didn't they develop civilization? Well, civilization is a weird fucking thing. Not even all humans develop civilization, right? And secondly, their physiology doesn't allow for, building shit, and they've been basically fine without it. I mean, better than fine, until humans started hunting them to extinction during the big whaling boom. They were pretty much doing great, and they're still doing pretty great now that we've mostly stopped whaling, apart from Japan and I forgot Finland. I forgot the other one. Um, Sperm whales, they're pretty much chilling, big chilling, one might say, because they're whales and they're quite big. they're big. They're um right, but they don't leave behind any particularly noticeable things that would be indicators of interstellar travel or whatever. I think this just comes from a very pro civilization perspective where you think that, oh, because humans developed this weird industrial civilization thing and it seems stable enough to me, as a scientist, not a philosopher or political scientist or, you know, someone who reads books on this sort of thing, you would probably just be forgiven for assuming that this sort of thing is relatively common and stable. But even amongst human civilized, even amongst life forms on this earth, it's not the most common thing amongst intelligent life, right? Let alone amongst, you know, not even amongst all human populations developed industrial civilization. Only like a tiny bit, and it just spread. But it might explode soon. You know, civilizations collapse. They've collapsed before many, many times. There's no reason to believe that industrial civilization is somehow exempt from collapse. I mean, industrial civilizations have already collapsed within semi-recent history. Um, we're witnessing the collapse of the American Empire, right? I mean, I'm not saying, you know, basically my point is that the entire Fermi paradox comes from just this weird belief that civilization equals advanced intelligence, right? But civilization doesn't equal advanced intelligence. That's just a false belief. Um, because the idea is that in order to have visited, you know, to have interstellar travel, you would need all the prerequisites of an industrial, technological, advanced civilization. Um, and my answer to that is, yeah, but technologically advanced civilizations are a terrible idea. And they burn themselves out very quickly. Uh, you know, you've all read fucking Bob Black. You're watching this channel. You've all read the fucking industrial civilization and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. You've all read that shit. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. So why don't you tell this to some fucking scientists and see what they think? Because they never thought about this shit. Those are fucking Italian bitches. Because Fermi, he was Italian. Um, you know, they just didn't consider the idea that civilization is the problem, not intelligence. That intelligence does not equal civilization. You're working backwards. You've assumed that any sufficiently intelligent species must develop civilization because civilization is an indicator of intelligence. But that's not true. Again, look at sperm whales. Like you could just say, oh well, they're not intelligent because they didn't build civilization. But why does civilization prove or disprove intelligence? It doesn't. That's just a conjecture. That's just something you've made up in your head with no real evidence for. It's really just a bias or just a spook, really. It's just a spook, really. And so that's why we've never been visited by extraterrestrials, to my knowledge, is because not because intelligent extraterrestrial life isn't somewhat common. It is common, statistically, but civilization is uncommon. It doesn't develop very easily in the first place because it's just a weird arbitrary thing. It's just like there's not really that much reason for completely different life to Homo sapiens. Try and completely wipe any image of what a Homo sapien looks like to build something that is entirely designed to benefit Homo sapien life. There's no way they would do it. And then even beyond that, for that structure, which we know to be incredibly inherently unstable, to have somehow survived long enough to both reach space travel and stay around, you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem likely to me. It's like that kind of explains everything really simply. Why didn't other people think of this? Just disappointing, really.